Hey volunteers, welcome back. We've been creating some videos to go through our quick help guide to Sunday service. In the last video, we finished adding the prayer song. We did so by copying it from the text directly from our digital hymnal, so we didn't use Song Select for that. And we did a little bit of reflow editing, which is always fun and a little bit confusing when you do it for the first time, but it really isn't so bad. Today we're going to have a video where we're going to add the scripture lesson, and we're going to use the Bible in ProPresenter to do that. So the first thing we want to do is find out what is our scripture. So our scripture is Ephesians chapter 3, verses 7 through 21. So we're going to go ahead and copy that from our worship plan and go back to ProPresenter. And let's have a look here. In ProPresenter, our media bin's open from the last video. So we're going to go ahead and close the media bin, so it's not in our way. And we already have Ephesians in here, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this from our playlist, because I want to be able to do it and show you guys. So we're going to go ahead and go to the Bible here, and of course we had done Ephesians before, so we're going to just paste in what you want into what the chapter and verse. And when you hit enter, it will actually go out and search for those slides. This is giving us a little bit of warning that says, hey, one or more of the text boxes is too small, causing the inside content to be clipped. It's not really. We checked it. It's actually doesn't look too bad. But what they're complaining about is the fact that the word Ephesians is a little bit longer than most of our chapters, and therefore it doesn't quite fit in the, but it doesn't look bad. So we're going to leave it, and we're going to ignore that warning. So what we have here is all the slides we need, but the slides aren't actually anywhere that we need them, because they're just here in the Bible. We need to put them into a presentation. So before we put them into a presentation, I just want to check a few things. This is the correct Bible, Revised New Standard Version. The verses are going to go into, this is a little confusing. The verses are going to go into a text box we call Scripture. So in our slide, I created a few text boxes, and we want it to go into the text box called Scripture. It won't go into one of these rounded rectangles. The verse will go into Scripture, and if you look over here, the reference will go into ref, and you can see down here where the ref shows up on that slide. So that's good. If these become reversed, then confusing things happen, and goodness, it's hard to figure out. So just make sure these things are not reversed. And the other thing you want to look at is in options, make sure that the show verse number is on, breaking on new verse, and you including the verse references. So that's great to have. And it's going to import into the library called Scripture. So once that's done and you checked on these things, and these things don't typically change. So it would be surprising if it did change, but if it does, the slide will do some interesting things, and it'll be difficult to figure out. So once you've done that, at the bottom of this interface is a little thing called Save As, and I had to move that because it's not showing up on my screen, but it will show up if you're working from the church computer. So we're going to go ahead, and you can save this as a presentation. You can copy it to a selected presentation, or you can save it to the playlist. We're going to go ahead and say save it as a presentation, and recall that it puts those presentations into Scripture, and this is going to be called Ephesians 3, 7 through 21. So we go to Scripture here. And you go down to, or up in this case, to Ephesians, and you'll see that here it is, Ephesians 3, 7 through 21. So we're going to go ahead and copy this, and there was one in here already, so we're going to go ahead and copy it, and I'm going to make this large again, and then we're going to go to our playlist, and we're going to put it where it belongs in our Scripture. So if you look here in our Scripture section, we have Scripture first slide and Scripture response. Scripture lesson goes right between the two. So we're going to right click on Scripture first slide, and we're going to say paste. And now just put the scripture that we want directly in between. And why isn't it changing? This is a great question. This is a mistake I make literally every week. I'm like, what's going on? Nothing's happening. It's because we're still looking in the Bible. If we want to look at how these presentations are actually, how they actually look, you have to click on Show. So here we are in Show, and you can see if we click on first slide, it brings us here, and then here's the scripture. And what we're going to do is we're going to just make sure it looks right. So we click on first slide. There's a slide with a nice graphic behind it that says scripture readings. It even has the title. Now this title doesn't appear here automatically. You have to change it every week. So in this case, you want to go to edit slide and you say, Ephesians 3:7 through 21. So you can actually edit this. You can edit this yourself. Once you've done editing, you don't have to save or anything. You just go back to show and it will show up on your slide. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide here, and you can see everything is formatted appropriately. We have the verse 7 and then the reference, the Bible reference there, and on the next verse we have Bible reference over and over. So we have this scripture here is done being formatted, and it's in place where it belongs, and it will appear like this in the sanctuary, and in the on the stream it will not have the background. It'll just appear as though the text and the reference. And then when you're done, you just want to make sure the scripture response is correct. And there's the scripture response. And in the next video, I believe we're done doing the adding in the scripture. In the next video, we're going to add in the children's message. So we'll see you in the next video.